Greetings to each and every single one of you. Thank you for your presence. We are back today to talk about the sign of Aquarius and the arc of this fixed air sign, which is in the last quadrant of the Zodiac. I'm here today with Santos Bonacci. How do you do, sir?
Very well, thank you. Philip, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm appreciative of you taking the time. And we're coming through to the last couple of signs of our Zodiac journey. This one ruling the calf muscles. So we're making it right down to the very last parts of the body. And so we can say that we're going to make a massive leap with the calf muscles. They are also really giving us something which is to do with the calf muscles at the back of the leg, but also we have the shin. And so what can you tell us about the calf and the shin, Santos, and how this relates to Aquarius?
Well, I guess that isolated part of the body will express the man standing. You know, the shins are pivotal in this. If the man has got strong shins and calf muscles, then he can climb mountains and he can be stable. It's about stability, fixed air. So it's a fixed sign. And I suppose if you just isolate that part of the body, then you get the sense that Aquarius is about the man standing. It's a human sign, just like all the other air signs, Gemini and Libra. Virgo is the only full human other sign of any other element, and it's Earth. But the other sign that is considered human in astrology, in ancient astrology, was Sagittarius, the man coming out of the horse. But it also had to include the animal aspect. So whereas with these other four, Virgo represents the feminine human, and then Aquarius represents the male human, the man. So, and in Chinese astrology, it equates with the monkey. So the way I've syncretized Chinese astrology with Western tropical is Aquarius lines up with is the man, which lines up with the monkey.
So it's really opposite Leo as well, which is the middle of the summer. So we're dealing with the middle of the winter. But yet that middle of the winter is like prepare. It's not just about being cold and the middle of the winter. It also has to come into some kind of resonance of what will be. Although it's not a mutable sign, it will be preparing for the change, what will be the new season still. So all the potential lays in it. I like what you said, like it being pivotal. So it can go down and it can go up. It can go down and it can go up. And it's like when you said it, I thought of both a ballet dancer or even like, like that holding the world above, because you've got such strong calf muscles. But it's not just the calf muscles that Aquarius rules. It also is like the vagus nerve, which is non-centralized. It's like this our origins, in the sense that it's a nervous system is built up through a lineage. So what I learn in my lifetime will pass on to my next genetic line. So they get the wisdom, if in a sense, if I was knocked over, but if I become like a race car driver, I'd have particular reaction skills because of what I pick up on my journey. Or if I was a drummer, the same thing. So those things will get passed on through the geniosphere, if you will, or the which is ruled by Aquarius, like this vagus nerve, the central nervous system. Would you agree with this, Santos?
I didn't know that Aquarius ruled the vagus nerve.
But the thyroid, it's also like, because it's attached to this, like, which is the thyroid in the throat. But it's like it's interesting how this all goes down there with the pineal gland. I say that with the heart being Leo fixed and the throat being Taurus fixed and Scorpio being our genitals, and they're fixed as well. So they're all kind of about this consciousness. It seems it's got an extra that layer of depth to it.
Yes, truly, for sure. I've attributed the 12 acupuncture meridian lines, the nadis, to Aquarius, and part rulership with its opposite sign, Leo. Sometimes some ancient astrologers attribute Aquarius to the circulatory system. Whereas the vagus nerve may actually, it's either Aries or Taurus. We know Aries, the cerebrum, rules the cerebrospinal nervous system. And then the cerebellum is sort of the motor nerves, but it also rules the endocrine system. So you'll find that I think the vagus nerve is mixed in with those two signs. That's what I didn't know, that Aquarius co-ruled the vagus nerve. So that's interesting. But definitely when you focus on the organs of Aquarius, like definitely it would have to do with the cerebrospinal nervous system, because Aquarius is about the man, and what makes him special is the nervous system. That's what makes man special from an animal. It's way more developed. We also have in the nerve ganglia, we have chakras, and we have 7, whereas animals only have 5. So these 2 extra chakras is what's elevated man, as Marcus Manilius says and puts it, that man is vertical because man is ascending to the stars, whereas the animals mostly walk horizontally on all 4s, because their consciousness is not upward directed. It's not ready for that part. Whereas Aquarius represents the man that is ready. It's the number 11. So, you know, he's got his match, you see. When you come to the number 11, now you have 2 1s, right? So the sign before, Capricorn, that was 1, 10. So you've gone from 1 to 2. So there's this massive, for a start, there's a doubling going on. You know, that number is a power number, and Aquarius has that power. They have the power of the number 11. And so when 1 is flanked by another 1, they are gregarious. They are friendly to each other, you see, and that's why Aquarians are friendly. They're gregarious because of that. That it's not really it's not really 2 in the sense of 2. It's 2 in the sense of 2 1s. You know, so this is why they really interact well with people in society, and they're friendly. They're good friends.
So if you had like imagine if there was like a family of bears, you know, more feral than what we are, and they're all crawling around in their bear-like state, and then so they're just like with each other, and then suddenly they get conscious. So their clambering kind of comes a bit like they discover each other through one another, like these 2 1s, which you're referencing. And so a bit like 2 magnets coming together, when they see themselves through each other, that is this state which you speak of. It's the conscious awareness that they are the same thing that they come across, which is the Aquarian state at its highest, most evolved level. And even in a sense, humanity has that naturally. This is what we are, even though we kind of forget it and don't act in that way all the time, frequently, very often. But the whole point is that we aren't feral like that. And so we discovered ourselves, a bit like even in a sense when Lady and the Tramp fall in love in the Disney, when they got that scene and they're like, oh, it's just like, if you sense the moment that consciousness arose, if you could say, from the pit of animal beings, which we could suggest that we once were, if you were just to depict this event, then it would be like discovering ourselves through one another's eyes, just like falling in love, but becoming conscious of who we truly are. And that is miracles, reflections of one another, the same sort of stuff.
Yeah, sure.
So you say it's the 11th sign, and you mentioned the star. So when you said that also originally, when I was thinking about it, imagine if like bit like Pinocchio. You had a puppet, and it was just doing whatever it wanted. This puppet, like a bear. But then you pulled the reins on the strings, and it become vertical. It stood upright. It become conscious of itself rather than just crawling around, laying about. It stood up because it was pulled tight, taut by the stars that it's got in its head, in its crown.
Yep. Yep. For sure.
So we're attached to this chandelier, and I feel like Aquarius really represents not just one star, it's the whole lot of stars. It's like the circuit board atop of the dome. It's like the whole fixed stars beyond our wandering stars. This is like the vault Aquarius, Uranus ruling Aquarius in the modern day astrology, and it being like this flash when you see the whole of the land all at once.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting that you mentioned Uranus, because Aquarius is a very electrical sign. Saturn is the traditional ruler with his daddy Uranus, but they're both very, very electrical. Saturn is L is electricity. Elohim, Elijah, Elisha, Elizabeth, Israel. Ra and El are just redshift bush.
I like that you mentioned Elizabeth there, because it's a bit like, in a sense, you could say this relationship between Leo and the Aquarius is a bit like Samson and Delilah again. I feel like it's this polarity of the warmth and the cold, and the sparks come off in the cold. Like, this is what you're saying, this electric. It sparks right off. It's like you don't expect it. It's a bit like the jolt of the electricity when you go for those chest resuscitation things.
Yeah, that's why its symbol is electrical as well. It's the symbol of waves and current and frequency. So
like the synapses in the brain as well. I see like they're symbolic of like the bulbs underneath the ground in the wintertime. Like even like in the psilocybin mushrooms, they've got their networks teeming with intelligence underneath the ground of the forests of the world. Their networks are like non-central, like Aquarius. And just like the synapses of the brain, they're always communicating with one another like an electrical storm through these waves.
Yeah, that's the energy of Aquarius. It's very tumultuous, I think. Very electric. It's mental. So you will find that they think quite deeply. A lot of scientists come from Aquarius. They love technology. And so their gift is how to use the mind in a deep way, in a Saturnian way, which is orderly, disciplined, I guess it's more, I don't want to use a control, but more dominated sort of an energy where they will dominate, in their field mentally.
You're very astutely correct, because like if you was to just go off into the modern day ruler with Uranus, it's like just pure chaos. You need to make it functionable. It needs to be kind of stern and strict with itself and disciplined, as you so rightly say. Otherwise, it's not going to be conditioned enough to be palatable for use. Would you agree with that?
Yep, for sure.
I'm the living embodiment of that, because it's a real practice. Like I just go off piece like this, but like you really got to bring it down. Otherwise, it's just like that's useless. Let's make it functionable, and then it can be something for the collective, a component.
Yep, very true. So Aquarians do very, very well in society. They seem to dominate there. Mentally, they also do domineer. Generally, they are involved in humanitarian things. You'll find that they're always there you know, supporting causes. As for friends, I think for me, they make the most loyal. Leo as well. Leo are very loyal. In fact, that leads me to what I was going to show the comparisons of Leo and Aquarius, because you always need to look opposite to understand the sign you're in. So with Leo, it's personal love. With Aquarius, impersonal love.
I like that. So just to reflect into the impersonal love, it's like some people will say, oh, they're cold, like what we said, like it's the middle of winter. But it's actually, if someone recognizes a friend isn't good for them, for instance, you could love someone, but they're an alcoholic, for argument's sake. You know, like, I just can't hang out with them because of their love for alcohol. So they will disconnect within reason because they know it's best for them, right?
Yep.
They might seem cold, but it's actually really smart, because if they didn't fully disconnect, then they'd be emotionally tied to that situation, maybe, or whatever have you.
Yeah, their coldness is more akin to coolness. They're very cool, you know, like they make great actors. James Dean was Aquarian. All of those big names, I forget which was which. Like I think Humphrey Bogart was Capricorn. So the Saturnians seem to have a lot of great skill there in that area as well. But if you look up some of these, the classic actors of, say, the 50s and 60s, you'll see there those top 10, you know, there'll be quite a few Aquarians in there. They're cool because they've got this James Dean composure about them, you know. They're standing on their shins, calf muscles, and they're really good at they're good at sports, all about running around.
Team player.
So Leo is romance, philia, and Aquarius is friendship, agape.
I like that. You could suggest that even when you say Leo is fear, Aquarius is the atmospherics. It's the background that actually supports the star, which is the focal point. And so that it is considered inferior to the star, but it's actually doing half of the work.
Yeah. And you can really, that's a really good, a very good comparison of those two signs. Leo's definitely are always wanting to be romantic. You know, they're just, my partner's a Leo, it's triple Leo, Julieta, and she just like wakes up in the morning and she's in a romantic state. You know, she says poetry and sings all day long, but she's, you know, they're romancing. And then the Aquarians, you'll always find they're always looking for friends, and they're always, you know, wanting to do something for their friends. You know, they're just urging to have friendship. They're so gregarious. I don't think if they have busy minds, which a lot of them do, I don't think they're very good alone. I imagine they're not very good alone, like perhaps a Virgoan would be really good on their own, you know, sitting there like a hermit. But an Aquarian, yeah, they're too gregarious. So Leo is passion, Aquarius is detachment. There you go. There's your cool Aquarians. They are detached.
So when we look at the fixed signs, we looked at this card before, and when we did another video, probably when we were talking about Scorpio or Leo or Taurus, because they're the fixed signs, and we see them in the corner of the world card. But then we've been referencing Leo, so obviously this is the strength card, which is just for a little glance of that, but it evolves obviously opposite, which is into the star card, which is for the Aquarius energy. And many people get it confused, thinking it's a water energy, but as we've said, it's a fixed air sign. And so what this demonstrates is that it's the intellectual ability to be conscious, to disperse consciousness, And that intellect is being channeled from the circuitry of the stars, which we've got a direct connection to in our biology things, these quite cool suits that we've got. And so this is what this represents. And the non-localness is really said, but well, this star is really important because it's you and me. But we are all stars here. And I see that that's what this represents. And even when you were talking about like the coldness, and it's like, okay, well, that's even like in the mountains with the water running down the hill. It's like, okay, well, the consciousness is that we can also guide, deflect, introduce, and bring that current to where it needs to be, creating estuaries as water does. So yes.
Beautiful. Good share. So yeah, and the point that you made that it's not water, people think it's water, but in a sense it is water, because January, Aquarius, used to be known as January the Baptist. The Romans used to call it the baptism month. So that's John the Baptist, the man, baptizing Jesus, the son, as it goes through Aquarius. Hence, January, John gives the blessing for February, which means purification. So you are then purified in February. There's 40 days of Lent, or lengthening of the sun until it reaches the equinox. So the 40 days are generally always just before the equinox and just after February, which means to purify. But January, the start of the year, is where you are baptized. So that's the only water that is in reference with John. It's also
I don't think you say that there. Oh, I don't want to interrupt, but it goes in with the time of the day, being like when we have the REM sleep, we're getting baptized and our pineal is getting illuminated and we're wetting ourselves and inside our heads, hopefully.
Yeah. So if you want to penetrate how an Aquarian thinks, think about 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the morning. That's their slot. So think about that, all right? Most of us are really deeply in sleep. They're dreamers. So they, like Pisceans, they have a mental dream. You know, they're very, very, very aspirational people. They aspire, always aspiring, you know. They have these great aspirations. So moving on, Leo is monarchy, Aquarius democracy.
So it's funny because we have like such a disbalance with regards to the conception of power, what is thought to be power, what is deemed to be power. People place things that are more inferior above themselves in this world at the current stage very frequently. And so in a sense now we're recognizing that this actually has to have a turn of events. Because it's so disproportioned. And we had this year the most energy in Aquarius in February since the 60s, and also the first great conjunction in Aquarius for 800 years. And so this is a very important time for revolution and turning of the tables and being kind of against the grain being that sunshine, that Leo energy, if you will.
Yep. And it's interesting there, it says monarchy, because that's the moon. So Leo's ruled by the sun. But monarchy meaning in reference to the king. July and August, the August months, you know. This is when the sun is August. And August means holy, dignified, majestic, you know. And that's the king, the monarch. Leo, but whereas Aquarius is the people. It's about the people, you know, and they are in that crowd. Leo, the king and the queen. Aquarius, the people. There you go. Not just
we say that the peepholes are a bit like, you say if you've got a sieve, you know, like a kitchen sieve, and you shine a light through it. And we are like these little peepholes, and there's so much many more of us than this one light, like the big light behind you, like big and bright like the sun, obviously. And so when that comes together, when we realize that we're coming from that same source, that's obviously at this stage of where we are, where people are at now, really, isn't it? I feel. And it's recognizing the power behind that, then the inferior nature of what that feels like when we're isolated. And so, in a sense, with ice melting, that's what it does, isn't it? It's at that stage when ice starts to melt, and it's like, oh, well, this is an impending change. What can one do with this transmutation of consciousness at this stage?
Yep, for sure, for sure. So Leo is the center, Aquarius is the circumference.
The parameter. And so what happens with Taurus is it churns, it whisks, it drags what is left out on the parameter into the central sphere, back into Leo, the heart, because it's bland. And no, I'm not saying that. I mean, the cream in the middle is fantastic, but you get used to it really quick. If you had cream every day, sometimes I get really stuck in my ways and go to the same restaurant every day. It's no good. You need to be a bit diverse. Aquarius is exactly that. And so the diversified nature of people like, in a sense, astrologers, you don't find them very frequently in the center of town. You have to go to the nooks and crannies on the side streets. Mm-hmm. And it's eventually people in the center, they need astrology. They need astrologers, in a sense, the media. And so you drag, and for instance, artists as well, they're people from the sides, from the outskirts. And it's the people who are on these outskirts, the parameter, as you said, the circumference, that need to be whisked, dragged in, to bring the cream of the crop back to the central sphere of things. And this is Aquarius.
No, well, Aquarius
is the action that's necessary of for the Aquarians. They might be out there and feeling like they're not worthy because they've become so isolated in their own concentration of seeking what's interesting for them. And that's actually so valuable and necessary component, like what now, for instance, like holistic food and all of the medicine which we give and all of the new technological advancements. They need to be scouted, these things, for society to develop.
Yep, for sure. And it's interesting that Leo is the center, because it's the heart. Leo rules the cardiovascular circulatory system, and it's the core, the corazon, it's the center. And Leos are always centered. They do have that ability to be very, very centered in their hearts. And
so this is like just for mention it, it's like a cool confidence.
Yeah.
Because they know that they can't get too hot and flustered, because that wouldn't go too well. But at the same time, it's like that confidence of knowing that that nothing's going to go so far wrong that it's beyond their control to maintain something.
Yeah. They are also cool, as Aquarians are, but differently. Leos are cool cats. And whereas Aquarians are cool as in...
they've got the answer, even if they do go erratic.
Everything, their whole image and their way of doing things. It's more... it's more of a higher criteria-based way of doing things. It's more correct. Saturn loves correctness.
For the better good of the whole.
Yeah. Leo is the actor. Aquarius is the audience.
Such a high level of integrity as well. So you might do something which undermines the self if it's really better for everyone else.
Yep. The audience. Audience means to listen as well. So I find them to be good listeners, because they like to know. Knowledge is the motto of Aquarius, I know. So I find that they're always saying, I know that. Yeah, I know. Yep, I knew that. I know. Like,
if someone had a Leo sun but an Aquarius moon, full moon person, but if they did, they might say, okay, well, I love this line. I wrote this line. This is the line for me, as I'm the star in this play. But I know that the people prefer this, so let's do this. And I don't get to do that exciting thing, which I love, because this is better for the movie. It's better for the people to enjoy the play.
Yep. And so Leo is the lion and Aquarius is the unicorn. So unicorn, again, represents a certain uniqueness, and I would say they are unique, as that they probably have the most complete human archetype in their sign.
So
Gemini,
with the unicorn, it's like the evolution of the goat in Capricorn, in the sense that it's got this, and it's similar to Pinocchio, which you mentioned, is like the oculus, like this visionary component to self.
Yeah, for sure. And Uranus is also unique. Uranus is revolutionary, ahead of its time, unconventional, rebellious. People who have Uranus rising, like myself, are rebels with a cause. James Dean had Uranus rising. Che Guevara had Uranus rising. Yeah, they're out of the box. They're unique. They're original. They're ahead of their time, and they're very.
If you get like an idea, like it comes just like in a flash. Like I've got an idea for instance, like a festival, and we all want to do an astrology festival, have bands and yoga, for instance. You get that idea. It's like that's a reality, and what you need. And so when you have a photograph, it's timeless, right? But it comes with a flash. If the photo takes within the flash, like if you act on your idea as soon as you have it, like I have an idea of like, I'm going to message Santos today, but if I just thought I'll message him in a bit, it might not have come out with such a good, what's the word? What's the picture quality? Resolution. The resolution is fantastic if you act on your flash of inspiration, and that's Aquarius.
Yeah. Yep, very electric.
So these are all revolutionaries, because actually think about Joe Strummer. He was a radical revolutionary, and he's dead. And so these people leave their mark beyond time. And they might be seemingly ahead of their time, as you say, when they first come out with their ideas. But the people, like people who wrote like Jurassic Park, or for instance, like these types of things, but they've etched their groove into the culture of the humanity.
Yep, for sure.
It's a bit like Saturn's rings. If you want to really leave your waxing on the record of life, or the Akashic records, then you've got to format it into something, as you said, which is practical. You've got to bring your chaos, Uranus idea, electrifying, you've got to bring it in your lifetime. And that sometimes takes 30 years, a whole embodiment of work, Saturn cycle, like 28 years, so that you can actually leave your groove. And you might not even realize that you're working towards it with some of the things that you're doing, because it might be a conscious work, it might be a craft, and then you have to learn how to put that into professional execution. It's our relationship to ourselves and the consciousness which we render through the experience, and then deploy that into something which can be of benefit to humanity.
Yep, for sure. So the people who have Aquarius rising on the ascendant, this is what Firmicus Maternus in Mathesios says. He says, if the ascendant is in Aquarius, whatever the native attains will be lost and ruined. Whatever he seeks, he will lose again. But whatever he has lost, he will regain easily. He will do favors for many and help them with means of substance, but they will always be ungrateful. He will be in danger, great danger, so that his life is despaired of, but he will be freed by protection of the gods. Many men will attack him with fierce hatred. He will work with divine or religious writings and will be known to many for his good deeds. So that's pretty good.
You see, like all of the different touches. I mean, I really, when we're thinking about a stage show, I watch. Well, my favorite things are music shows and professional wrestling, because there's so much that goes into making the stars look fantastic. And I really love the behind the scenes, like a documentary of how these people became stars. And it's their relationship with the Aquarian folk that make them spectacular, and that you can really recognize, because there's a vulnerability to being a star. The Leo energy, it has got a soft underbelly. It's a vulnerability to it, and that's what makes it so brilliant and courageous. But it's the support that is coming from the Aquarius archetype that allows that bulb to glow, that star to shine, that allows that flower to have the right components and substance for it to come out and bloom in the spring. And it's all there, teeming with life and potential, ready before you see it. And that's Aquarius.
Yeah, true. That's a good point. Aquarius in the middle of winter is stabilizing the earth for a new year. It's kind of the last stable part of that death cycle of autumn and winter. And it's from those cold ices and the waters that pour down in January. From then on, the year is cleaned, purified in February. March means to march forward, because that's where right ascension of meridian Ram begins. And then April is to open, Aprile, to open to the new, brand new year.
Go on.
Yep, because the year was, March used to be called Primus, the first month in ancient Rome, and Taurus was Secundus, Gemini was Tertius, etc. That's why when you get to September, see, if you keep going, Cancer is Quartus, Leo is Sextus, Quintus, Virgo is Sextus, and then Libra, September, is Septimus. You see, so that's why people go, oh, well, how come it's the 9th month then if it's Sept for 7? Well, because you have to go back to the start of the year, which begins in the 1st of April. April Fools were condemned because the Romans wanted the secular calendar to prevail over the sacred calendar. Both calendars are legitimate. Both calendars have a starting point. January 1st.
The sacred calendar it's not on a loop. Secular is on a loop. Sacred isn't. It's started, you've got the 7 months, and then you celebrate the working months, and you go into the underworld months, or like the other side.
I guess so, yes. But my analogy was more to starting the year in the Lamb or in the Goat, Capricorn. So if you started at January 1st, that's great, but it's a secular start. If you start your year in Aries, the Lamb of God, the Lamb that saveth the world, and mentioned 29 times in the book of Revelation, the Lamb of God, standing upon Mount Zion, the Sarah Abram, right? So that there, the spring, the blossom, the white blossom in the trees, that's the lamb. The wool of the lamb is purity. It's a virgin. The year begins in Aries. So it starts on April the 1st, which is the 10th day of Aries. And January 1st is the 10th day of Capricorn. So this has been a system that has always been. There are 2 starting points to the year. It's January 1st and April 1st.
So this is very interesting. Let's talk about September for a moment, because it's like, as you say, Sept. It's like Seth. It's really representing where you cut the fruit from the tree. It's like the harvest. Like it's got the sickle to it, which I also see as the lunar part of Saturn. It's representing the continuous lunar cycles, which archetypes fit within the Saturnian structure. It's a mirror of it. It's the micro and the macro of one another, especially as you see that with Cancer opposing Capricorn. And so with regards to September, it's really, as you say, it's cutting free from the mother. It's cutting the umbilical cord from the mother. So it's like, again, represents Persephone, which is like the consciousness of Uranus being cut from Mother Earth. Like this is the Christ being, which turns into Venus being slung into the ocean. It's the mythologies are quite messed up, aren't they? The way that we've got them today, because they all weave together. It's just interesting to recognize that September is such a holy month, because it's the maiden that gives birth to the child, and she loses it in many different stages of the story. But it is really self as well. We cut our own fruits free. For instance, you might have a product like, and it's like your conception, but when you release it to the world, for instance, if you release a song, eventually that song is owned by the people, really, which is so it goes back to Aquarius. But I've got a question for you, Santos. I noticed something very interesting. So the butterfly stroke is a swimming maneuver which creates gravitas, and it is similar to the toroidal field. And when you go into the right ascension of the meridian, it creates the ram movement, which is folding in directly on self. It's doing it for self. It's plunging into the direction. It's going to take us wherever you want to go, right? Right ascension of meridian is folded in exactly like the horns of the ram and the top of the toroidal field. And so maybe each one of the signs represent a different stage in the butterfly stroke. If we go back 2 signs to Aquarius, it's more like, I'm handing this vortex out to other people. The energy's about everybody. I'm dishing it out, serving it up for everybody to receive. You could suggest it's even coming out from the bottom at that stage. Like if each of them go round like that into this kind of toroidal field atmospheric. Do you agree with this kind of metaphysical stance?
For what? For the archetype?
Right ascension of meridian to be folding in like that on the self. And that's really like self-love, doing it for self. Aries, Ram, right ascension of meridian, Mars, going after what you want. It takes you in that direction when you pedal like that, when you're not concentrated on the distractions all around us. Whereas the Aquarius energy is more like holding it and giving it to the others. It's coming out from the end, and it's about to come back in on self. Because actually, when the energy of this, which would be at that stage, it's like propelling, ready to go back in on self. And it's just before, isn't it? Pisces and Aries. And so it's got a lot of energy behind it because of the hard work that they do for humanity, for everybody else. So in a sense, people will support Aquarius due to the amount of effort that they put in for the whole. And so in a sense, if some kind of things on the personal life fall by the wayside, there's going to be a lot of support for an Aquarius person due to how much they provided for the people around them. Would you suggest?
Yep, for sure. Community-minded, definitely, with a humanitarian agenda. So it is a bit about service. I think there's a quality of service with Aquarians, although Pisces next door is truly a sign of service universally. And it's opposite Virgo. But Aquarius does do that. It does serve its community and society very, very well. And
huh? So there's this genius nature to the Aquarius. And so this, can we break down this genius and what a genius is? And it's that we are all have the ability to access our genius. It's just about kind of knowing how to act on it rather than not doubt it. And it is this awareness which we can tap into, and we all have a different way of tapping into it. And yet, if we can have faith in our ability to act upon it and get out of our own way, get out of the way of having to be about ourselves, then we can gain so much enjoyment through delivering our genius.
Yeah, for sure.
Genius
Yep.
is never it's never for a selfish desire. It's always got some, it might be something you enjoy, but it's never so much for self. It's always in deliverance for a higher cause.
Yep. I just want to, there was a point that I want to make. So I know it's going to be a change of direction now, but I want to go back to John the Baptist in January and Aquarius, the water bearer. In the Bible, Aquarius is also John the Baptist, because the star that makes the head of Aquarius, when Aquarius goes down, it loses its head. And at the other end, Leo is coming up.
So
and Leo,
would you say, when does it go down? So you could say Aquarius goes down in another sign, like in Scorpio, when it gets dark, in the autumnal period. Like, so it's going down and getting baptized and being immersed by the waters then, but it's coming up illuminated in Aquarius.
Yeah, well, this will only happen when the sun's in Leo. So you'll only get you'll only see this when the sun is in Leo. And Leo is Herod. Herod is the king. Herod is another way of saying Ra, you know, the Taurus field. It's the king. Leo is the king. So
what's the etymology of Herod? Like he the rod?
Hero. Just take the D off, and you've got the word hero, and the sun is the hero that beheads John the Baptist. So when in Leo in July, all you got to do next time July comes around, just wake up in the morning and watch Aquarius's head come up.
So Herod is also he's the hour maker. He's the interceptor of power.
Yep.
He's the Lord.
And then at night, do the same thing in the west. And then you'll see Aquarius's head go down and the sun is coming up.
So this is very interesting for the current time, because we have actually got by transit Saturn in Aquarius. And so and we only just had the Leo season, like the sun's currently just trundling through the end of Virgo. And so when the sun was in Leo and we had the sun opposing Saturn, Saturn was setting at the dusk. It was actually a time to suggest that all of the power structures of the world, and even any Capricorns or any Aquarians, basically anyone who's dealing with this stuff, everybody in the world who's dealing with their structures and support and Aquarian stuff, time was not vast amounts of it. There's like time's running out because Saturn's setting when the sun's rising. And so this is what you say with regards to the constellation, is actually you can see the head being chopped off at the same time. It just was extra influenced at that time with regards to the sun and Saturn being in their domicile signs. So you see the head
exactly, because the sun was in Leo. So I stress again, the sun has to be in Leo. If you do this at sunrise, you'll see John the Baptist Aquarius's head being beheaded. And if you see it at sunset, then you'll see the head come up the other end. So this is always happening in July. That's why August 29th is the beheading of John the Baptist Day, because that's the end of, it's Virgo, but it's sort of the end of summer where Herod finally has his feast and the Virgin dances for him. And the Virgin says, well, will you please give me the head of John the Baptist? Well, that's happening in Virgo. That's on the 29th of every
that's
year.
our sidereal sky. Right, so we're talking about our seasons because we're talking about the tropical sky, tropical zodiac. But when we're talking about the observation of it, we deal with the sidereal sky, which is why we see it in Virgo.
Right. Exactly. So you just have to make a small adjustment, but it's still the same. So the what was I saying?
We were just talking about the decapitation of the sun, the hero, Herod.
Yeah, okay. So that's, yeah. So on the 29th of August, every year, the sun the analemma, the sun makes an analemma. It's a figure 8 in the sky, right? It just does this figure 8 in the sky. Now,
so the bigger
in the middle,
the bigger
it crosses as it goes down to the fourth.
The bigger of the figure of 8 is that would be the Leo time, and then this little bit is actually the Aries and Libra time, and then the smaller bit the Aquarian time of the 8, or is it an equal sides on each? Because we got the
you
figure
broke
of
up
8
too
here.
much, I couldn't understand that.
The Amalina is here on the Leo card. And so it depicts the actual cycle which you're expressing. And the sun is at its fixed solar point in Leo. And then it comes, when it's actually doing this little kind of bit in the middle of the figure of 8, that would be like the Libra and the Aries time within our sky. And then it comes into Aquarius, the fixed winter, and it's in the other half of the figure of 8 depicted here in the cosmological procession. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
It's so beautiful.
Yep.
Because that's like a pulley system that creates the torsion, that creates the traction. That is the whip of the whole system. That is the centrifugal nervous system. That is everything. That systematic pull from negative to positive energy, both equal, neither one of them inferior, just the words are our only way to describe such a thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And so this information is timeless. This information is only shared, non-centralized. You don't catch this on the BBC. This is only shared by the likes of you and I. And so the point of it is that it's only passed down. It's almost like an oral tradition, you could suggest, because the things that are within the systematic nature of things, traditional things like that become context and Saturnian, this is like Saturn inside the ring, then they are more like, we'll tell this through a guise or through a motto, like a Bible or something like that. Something which is going to disguise it beyond the surface level for human consumption. We want people to work for the fruits of this kind of intelligence and awareness, or discover it through their own exploration. So this information is set from beyond the boundary, set from beyond the scene. This is something which is only channeled or shared through community, through congregation of stars that see one another, through the people who have awareness to build schools like yourself and bring together community and connect one another with other astrologers or secret school teachers. And so it's a devotional kind of language of awareness, which we kind of see that is brought beyond time. As I say, it's timeless information.
Absolutely. And what a nice note to end on.
Well, thank you so much for connecting and sharing this. I appreciate your timeless time and taking the moments which are so valuable to be able to share this with our audience. How are you going to spend the rest of your day, Santos? What's going on for you at the moment?
I'm going to be having a call with all the instructors of the virtual academy. We're going to get on a call and have our first meeting.
Really exciting. I'm really pleased to see these things coming together, because you acted on the flash of inspiration. It's coming together, and these things come together quicker than what we can perceive. So who's to say what kind of developments we'll be leading with in the new spring as more and more opportunities come about through having acted on this inspiration.
Exactly.
Right, thank you everybody for watching. We'll be back with Pisces in a not too distant time from now. Thank you for your presence. You are appreciated. Have a fantastic selection of moments.